Hello guys and welcome back. So in today's video, what I'll be trying to show you today is two main things. First of all is I'm going to be showing you how TFTP server works and the essence of having a TFTP server on your network. And the second thing I'll be trying to show you is that once in a while you need to leave packet tracer and actually work with physical devices to ensure that your skills are actually improving, right? So TFTP servers, what are TFTP servers? So trivial file transfer protocol. They are servers that help you to transfer certain files to a safe location within your network so that you can retrieve them as at when you need them. From the definition we see here on the right, it says TFTP server is a simple protocol used to transfer files over a network. It's mainly used in environments where ease of implementation and low overhead are important, such as booting diskless workstations, right? When you're booting workstations that don't have disks physically. Another one is transferring firmware or configuration files between a switch and a router and your TFTP server, right? Then key features of TFTP servers are usually it works on the UDP port 69. It doesn't require authentication and encryption. Supports basic functionalities like read, write, and data acknowledgement and error. So another feature is it doesn't list directories, so it's very basic. There's no directory listing. And then some example use cases you would find with TFTP servers are loading a network device configuration from your server. Another one is updating firmware of certain devices and also network based booting. So yeah, those are some things that you can achieve with your TFTP server. Now within Packet Tracer, if you wanted to work or backup your iOS configuration on a TFTP server, let's say this is a TFTP server, all you need to do is assign your IP addresses as you'd usually do on your network, and then go to the TFTP server, go to the server, and go to services. So at the top here, go to services, and then find where you have TFTP, right? And then you see it's already turned on, so you just click on it, and these are the files listed on the TFTP server, right? You can transfer this to and fro the switches, right? You can transfer from the switch to the TFTP server and from the TFTP server to the switch or the router, whichever way you want to do that. But in reality, is this how it actually works? This is really not how it works in reality, right? There are so many other things that you would uh, factor in when you have a TFTP server in your topology, right? Things like are there firewall configurations that would stop, you know, UDP port 69 from operating within that network. Another one is the TFTP server in a part of your network that can be reachable. Another one is how is your network set up in general for your devices to be able to back up to the TFTP server. So this is pretty much straightforward in Packet Tracer. Once you do it the first time, it's going to work. But when I tried for the first time backing up a file in TFTP server that was hosted on a Windows computer, it didn't work. So I had to start troubleshooting, and that was a greenfield implementation, and we're trying to get the TFTP server working, and it didn't work. So today I'll be showing you an example with an actual physical device and a TFTP server loaded right here on my Windows computer, and we'll see how that works. So I'll close out Packet Tracer and we'll get to that. So the device I'm going to be using today is a 1900 series router, Cisco 1900 series router, right? It has at the back, it has the console port and it has the LAN ports that we're going to be using. So I'll plug this in and then we'll connect to the device and we'll try to back up to a TFTP server on my desktop. Now I have two cables here, which is one, the LAN cable, right, which I'll use to connect to the computer to enable me backup. And then secondly, what I have here is the console cable, which I'll be using to get into the command line of the router. So I'll get all of this connected and we'll see how it works. So I'll try to identify where my COM port is located. That should be my, so to find out where my COM port is located, I'll have to go to, where is it? Yeah. So I think I have a COM port on port 6. So I would connect to port 6, which is this one. Alright, so I'll connect to the console port with my console cable, and that is connected. Then I'll start up my terminal, COM6. Then I'll boot up the device. So at the moment, I've connected the device, connected my communication port, and I've connected powered on the device. So as you can see, it's currently booting up now. Alright, while that boots up, I'll connect the LAN cable as well to my computer. So I'm connected on the gigabit 0/0, and I'll connect to my computer. Now, while this loads up, I'll talk about the TFTP server I'm using. I'm using this TFTP server by SolarWinds. You can get it on their website, which is here. So you can just search on Google SolarWinds TFTP server. Is a free tool. You can quickly download that. There's another alternative which is TFTP D64, and you can as well search on Google to get that TFTP server. So I'll close this out. Okay. Now that it's loading and initializing, I would confirm the IP address on my Ethernet port on my laptop, and okay, I'm having 192.168.125.4 on a /24 network for my Ethernet port. So I'll check on the router once it comes up to ensure that I'm on the same network with the router. Okay, so router is on. I'll just go all the way down to take all of that away. Go to enable and show run, right? Let's see what's going on within the router. So at the moment, I am connected to uh, the interface 0/0 and is having 125.1. Let me confirm. Yes, I'm connected to 0/0 and is having the IP address 125.1. So if I try to ping my laptop, ping uh, 192.168.125.4, which is what my laptop is currently connected on. Let's see. Success. So there's a complete success, right? 5 sent, 5 received. So there's reachability between my router, and my laptop. So now, um, as we all know, to back up to a TFTP server, all you have to do is copy uh, running config to TFTP, right? So that's all you need to, that's the command you need to put in. And then it's going to ask you the address or name of the remote host. Now, the address or name of the remote host is that IP address 192.168.12125.4. Now, if I press and enter, it's going to ask me destination file name test. That's the configuration file. I'll just keep the name as the same by pressing enter, and then it's going to try to start copying. Now remember, packet tracer is an ideal world where everything is perfect, right? But in the real world, when you're working with physical devices, note that everything usually isn't perfect, right? So know that you need to troubleshoot, you need to find out what the issue is from time to time to get your network working. So this obviously is going to fail, and then we're going to see opening the 192, it says it's timed out. So when you get errors like this that is timing out, definitely is not able to connect to that device. There should be something wrong with it. There could be a firewall rule blocking it. Now note that Windows by default, there's no firewall rule that allows for port 69 on Windows, right? So there's no firewall rule that allows for that. So if you wanted to allow port 69, you would have to explicitly allow port 69 access in your on your device. Now let's go to firewall and see if there's something we can do. Now on the firewall part, we can see that in our inbound rules, if we take a look closely, we'll be able to find that I've created a rule here that allows for TFTP access. I've put these A's in front of it just to make it very obvious, right? So this is the inbound rule that allows TFTP, but as you can see, it's disabled. I disabled it. Now the properties for this rule is what we're seeing here. Protocols and port is allowing port 69, that's a UDP port, is allowing any IP address. Obviously on your network you're going to define a scope of IP addresses that is going to be allowed, and the local IP addresses and the remote IP address that is going to be, you know, allowed. Now this is what this rule looks like, right? To create this rule on Windows, you go to new rule, right? And go to ports, do next. Now it's a UDP port, right? So you're going to go to UDP and specify the port that you're trying to allow. In this case, it's being 69 for TFTP. Then you do next. Then you allow the connections, right? And then we'll leave all this as default and go to next. And then you give the rule a name and then a description for that rule. But I already have this rule, so I will not enable it twice. I'll not create it twice. So I'll cancel out from here and instead go here and enable the one I currently have here. So I'll click on enable. As you can see, it's enabled now. Enabled, yes. So I'll minimize this and just ensure that my TFTP server is running. As you can see here, is running. So I'll run the command again and let's see what happens. So I go back up and click on copy running config to TFTP server, and it asks me for the name of the remote host, which is 125.4. Click on this, and destination file name, enter, and as we can see, 1513 bytes copied in this amount of time, and the TFTP log is already saying that, you know, the file has been copied to this location, user admin desktop TFTP and all of that. So if we go to files and go to configure and we try to find, you know, this path where it stores our files, if we browse and we go to desktop, and we find TFTP on the desktop. So we're going to find it here, right? uh, I'll just I'll just open it myself. So I'll just go here and go to desktop, and I'll go to this folder, and as you can see, the file has been copied. It was just copied right now. As you can see, the time 12:48, it was copied a minute ago, and the date is the same. So it has just been copied. So I'll close this out. So that is that for you know this video. So ensure that sometimes when you're labbing up and when you're trying to practicalize things, do some in packet tracer, the very basic ones, and the ones that are more complicated that you know might take a lot more troubleshooting. If you have physical devices, try to do them on the physical devices, because that way you're going to learn a whole lot more. So when I tried this for the first time, this wasn't the only error I got. I got another error regarding permissions, because SolarWinds TFTP server creates its folder where it stores its files. It creates that folder in the C directory of your Windows, right? And uh, and when you're running the command from mobile xdem or putty, it doesn't allow you permit there, you're not permitted to allow to write files to the C directory of your Windows. So that error, I had to create a folder out of the C directory and create it in a different location that I could have, permission to do this. So there are a couple of other ways that you can achieve this. One is you can have it running on a Windows server, your TFTP server running on a Windows server. You can have it running on Linux, where you explicitly define, IP addresses, ports that would have access to the TFTP server and all of that. There are many ways to run this. This is not the only way, but I just wanted to show you this method to show you that you need to leave packet tracer at times to actually be able to learn a whole lot more using physical devices. So thank you for watching. The next video I'll be working on is how to automate this process. Now look at a scenario where you have 100 devices or 50 devices on your network that you have to back up maybe weekly or monthly, or I don't know how frequently you back up, your configurations, your iOS and things like this. If you have to back up 50 devices, you can't do it this way. You have to find a way to automate it and have it run across all the devices, and backing them up and give them specific names that make sense to you. So this is what I'll be working on my next video. So stay tuned if you want to see what that looks like, and thank you very much for watching.